Hello, listeners. You're listening to 18 Minutes with Satyal and Silwal. I am Satyal.
And I am Silwal, and we are a weekly podcast from the Himalayas.
Perspectives, conversations, stories. That is what we are all about.
And today we have a special guest with us all the way from London. He is
Shamash Alidina. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So Shamash, tell us a bit about yourself.
So my name is Shamash Alidina. I'm co-founder of the Museum of Happiness and also run an organization called Teach Mindfulness. So the Museum of Happiness is about spreading the art and science of happiness around the world. And Teach Mindfulness is an organization which trains mindfulness meditation teachers. So those are the two main organizations that I run, and I live in London, but I spend half my time traveling around the world teaching about mindfulness, kindfulness, and happiness.
Shamash, what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is quite hard to explain, but in a nutshell, it's a way of being more in the present moment. So it originally comes from a lot of the Eastern traditions, things like Buddhism and Hinduism, and also some of the Western religions. But it's about cultivating a present moment awareness. So right now, if your listeners are actually conscious and they're listening to the words that I'm saying, they're practicing mindfulness.
Tell us more about the Museum of Happiness.
I was pretty shocked to find that actually there is no museum to explore the art and science of happiness. So I'm like, hey, why don't we start one? And the idea would be not just a place where you just see pictures of people that used to be happy in the old days, not that kind of museum. A museum where it's a place for learning, so it's very interactive, where you come in and you may do some laughter yoga or singing or dancing or meditation, all these things which are actually scientifically proven to actually lift your happiness and well-being.
Shamash, how can we open a Museum of Happiness in Nepal?
So the first thing is to be clear about the values, because we thought if we want to start any organization, it's really important to be clear about what the values of the organization are, because otherwise you lose the essence of it. And so the core values are a sense of compassion and kindness, so it has to have that element, a sense of consciousness and mindfulness, so it's about teaching to be in the present moment, a sense of community and friendship, so it's not very formal, and a sense of creativity and fun. And finally, a fifth one we've added is to bring in a sense of collaboration. So luckily they all start with C, so it becomes easier to remember. And so a Museum of Happiness, I think it will be different in each country because each country's got a different culture and approach, but it's important to bring those values in. So if someone was to start a Museum of Happiness in Nepal, and there have been some inklings of that happening already, then there's different ways of doing it. You could do it as just like a 1 or 2 hour event or a half or a 1 day, or it can be extended for months or even years. But the idea is that you step into a place where, first of all, it's accessible. So if people can afford to give some money, they do, but if they can't and they just want to be able to access it freely, then they can do, because it's one of the elements of mindfulness of the Museum of Happiness is generosity. So they come in there, and then usually we would have some sort of interactive experience. So they'd probably get a nice hug to come in, because of hugging is really good. A sense of touch, a sense of warmth and friendship comes up straight away. So hopefully the people that were there would give you a nice hug as you come in. And I mentioned the concept of volunteers, and there's loads of research to show that when people volunteer and give their time freely, it makes them feel happier, and it makes the recipients feel happier too. So the majority of the people that participate in the Museum of Happiness and are sharing it would be volunteers. So you'd come in, you'd be welcomed by volunteers, they might give you a little gift just out of their own kindness, and then you come in and you'd probably have some sort of workshop or what we call play shops. So one of them that I did when I was last in Nepal was laughter yoga. That seems to be very popular. Yeah, I can say more about that in a sec. So laughter yoga could be one of them. I've mentioned things like singing and dancing and doing some sort of playful activity. These things are often associated with being a child and having some fun. But when we do that, we become more in the here and now, in the present moment. If you're kind of dancing around and having fun, you're not thinking about your credit card bill or all the other kind of problems and worries. You're right there in the present moment. So that brings you in the here and now. It makes you feel happy. So it'd be things like that.
Shamash, of course, people come to the Museum of Happiness to get happiness. But what is it that's happening in their lives that they're coming there?
Well, I think there's probably lots of factors to contribute to why people are actually not happy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People are coming for happiness. And so the majority of people are feeling unhappy. And I think there's a whole range of different reasons for that. But if you think about what's happening in our modern society at the moment, first of all, people are in communities as much because of religion. As the popularity of religion has kind of gone down, that sense of community is not there so much. So we're becoming smaller and smaller units. And I know here in the UK, a lot of people don't even live in the unit of the family. They live kind of quite often on their own, or maybe just a couple. So there's people that are living in smaller spaces, they're all on their own. And one of the biggest contributors towards happiness is positive social relationships.
Okay.
So if you're spending more time on your own, then you're going to be losing that connection. So I think that's one of the reasons. Another one, I think, is the rise of technology. Most people are on their phones right from the moment they wake up. They use it for their alarm clock. They start checking social media. Throughout the day, they're checking email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all the way till the end of the day. And so we're ending up spending hours of time on this little screen. And every time we look at it and we answer it, it's actually draining the energy in our brain. It's actually draining our ability to be in the present moment. And I think that's having a big effect on people's happiness levels. So I think that could be another reason or another factor that contributes to it.
So Shamash, where did us humans go wrong? You know, what is our natural state? Are we born happy, or what is the state of our emotions, and why are we more sadder than ever before?
That's a great question. So partly the reasons that I've just already said about relationships. When you say where we've gone wrong, it's so easy to kind of focus on the negative and the bad things happening in the world. But partly the reason we do that is because of news focuses far more on negative than positive stuff. And actually there's been a lot of positive things that have happened by us as a group of human beings in the last 100 years. Things like women being able to get a vote, there's more equal opportunities, the level of healthcare has improved so much globally, the amount of poverty in the world is continuing to go down globally in the world. There's a lot of good things going on as well as bad. So first of all, we shouldn't think that there's only negative things happening and things are getting worse and worse. Having said that, you're absolutely right about the unhappiness, and levels of depression are going up in the world. And I think it's to do with this breakdown in the connections of our close-knit communities. I think the rise of technology in some ways are separating us as well. And I think it's partly to do with advertising as well, actually. The way advertising is designed is to try and make us feel as if we're missing out on something, and then we need something to make us feel happier. Apparently, if someone in the West, for example, just wandering around in a normal day would see more than 5,000 advertisements and commercials. Mm-hmm. And so all of these are saying that you need this to be happy, you need that to be happy. So there's a sense of, I'm not good enough. Yeah. For example, for women, there'd be this image of, looking in a certain way, having a certain weight, having a certain style. And so you think that person has got the ideal and I need to get that to be happier. But actually, happiness, like you say, is a very natural state, actually. And when we've got things like our food, shelter and clothing, and if we're out in nature, then we're much more in the here and now and present. And there's that sense of contentment, that peaceful sense of happiness that just arises from things just being the way they are. Yeah. In fact, there's a lot of things that are free that actually make us very happy, just having fun with friends, spending time together.
Yeah, because you talk about friends here. I was going through a research by Robert Waldinger. A Harvard research, a 75-year-old Harvard research says that the key to happiness is having quality social relationships. So how you talked about community, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly, yeah. That was the research I was studying. Yeah, it was a beautiful piece of research. One of the longest research studies ever done.
Exactly.
And they tracked these men and then afterwards women as well, because if the wives were like, what about us? So eventually they tracked women too. And they found that out of all the things and all the different factors they look at, the thing that's most powerful for predicting happiness and well-being is the quality of relationships. And then the happiness also connects to the length of life. So people that feel happier have longer lives, they have other better quality relationships, they're more likely to make more money in their workplace, and they're more likely to be successful and achieve the goals that they want to achieve. So one of the things I teach about is that people think they need to get, that next car or that next house or that next podcast, which gets even more popular, and then they'll be happy.
Yeah, don't do that. 18 minutes with Satyal and Silwal.
But you're much wiser than that. And so you know that actually the happiness is not going to come from that external achievement, but it's going to be coming from that sense of cultivating positive friendships, from cultivating things like present moment awareness and enjoying the here and now and what you've got, being grateful for what we do have, small acts of kindness. These kind of really simple things, which most people have forgotten about now, but when you practice these very simple things, you feel happier, and then the success comes out of that. So when I met you guys, I could see that there was a sense of positivity and well-being about you, and you're very enthusiastic about this podcast that you're running. So when you approach me and say, I'd love to have you on an interview, straight away I would say yes. But if you didn't have that positivity about you, and you hadn't cultivated that happiness, and you're looking kind of really miserable, like, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing a podcast, we want you to interview us, then I'll be like, I may not be so enthusiastic about it. So when people are smiling and they're happy and they're more content, they attract other people, and that positivity becomes like a snowball effect. There's another interesting study to show that when you're happy, your friends are more likely to be happier, and even their friends are likely to be happier. So it actually passes on to one or two connections. So it's kind of catchy as well, which is really a really nice effect.
Now I know why Silwal is happy.
Yeah, because I have a happy friend with me, right?
And one of the things that I wanted to share with you on this podcast is about sadness and depression, and not to push it away. Obviously, Nepal has been hit by an earthquake, and people have been hurt either personally, or they know their friends or family that have either got very badly injured or died, or I'm sure it's had so many impacts in so many different ways.
Yeah, and also the economic blockade, and a lot of things happening, pollution and everything. We are actually ranked 107th in the World Happiness Index, just for knowledge of our listeners. So
wow. So for all these external reasons, there's bound to be this feeling kind of sadness and depression.
Yeah.
And one of the things that would drive it and make it worse would be if the listeners, after listening to this, would be saying, oh my God, I'm feeling sad, and I should be feeling happier.
We don't want that.
I'm not feeling happier, and this is making me more depressed. That's not the idea.
Exactly.
The idea is to allow yourself to feel however you're feeling. So to kind of be kind and compassionate to yourself. So if you're feeling sad at the moment, we could just do a simple exercise. So for example, right now, if the listeners are feeling sad, notice where you feel it in your body. It may be in your stomach area, it may be in your chest, but there's always a physical aspect to the feeling of sadness or depression. So notice that first of all, and rather than getting rid of it, which is the normal reaction of human beings, let it be there. Let it have some space. Be curious about it. Be kind to it. Notice the sensations. Maybe place your hand on it and feel the sensation together with your hand. If you can, even smile towards it. So lifting the corners of your mouth, even if you don't feel like it. And just take a few deep breaths and let it be there. It's the fighting with the emotions, and it's trying to push them away, and denying that they're there is what makes them stronger and stronger, and we just get ourselves feeling worse. And this is something that I want to educate people in. This is part of the reason for the Museum of Happiness, to say that happiness is not ready-made. It comes from our own actions, but it also comes from the way we treat ourselves. And if we can learn to treat ourselves nicely and kindly, especially our own emotions and our own mind, then it will start to relax and gently release in its own time. There's one analogy that we use in mindfulness, and it's the RAIN analogy, R-A-I-N. And R stands for recognize. So first of all, recognize what's going on. Step A is about acceptance. So after you've recognized what's going on, accept that this is the situation. Yes, there is pollution in Nepal. Yes, the government is not being very supported. Yes, we've had an earthquake. Yes, your friends or family or someone has passed away. That's the actual situation. The next step is I, and I is to investigate. So investigate what's actually going on exactly. Look a little bit more carefully. Yes, all these bad things have happened, but there's some good things too. This Creativeness Fest happened recently. There's this fantastic podcast that's happening. There's this great YouTube channel which someone's doing. That person's doing it. So you start investigating what's actually going well. And then the last step, N, goes back to what you mentioned about non-identifying. So learning to step back from the thoughts or emotions that are just too overwhelmingly negative for you, and learning to create a little bit of space, and you start looking towards what you can do. So that can be quite a nice analogy.
So what can we Nepalese do to become more happier?
So one of them is gratitude. So every morning or every evening, write down or draw or text to someone, or however it works for you, 3 things that you feel grateful about. So, I'm grateful that the sun is shining today. I'm grateful that I'm alive today. I'm grateful that I have a job, so I've got some money. I'm grateful that, for my parents or my friends. So writing down what you're grateful for is a really good one.
Okay.
Another beautiful one to do is a random act of kindness.
Okay.
Make a cup of tea for someone or a coffee that you don't normally do. Give some flowers to someone that anonymously, leave some flowers outside someone's doorstep or something.
Awesome.
Let other people come in front of you, open the door for someone. Just try and look for little opportunities to do a random act of kindness. Send a positive email to someone. Share this podcast with all your friends. Just doing something friendly like that.
Yes, do that. Do that, listeners. Shamash is saying, so you better do it.
Share it with everyone.
So little things like that, which makes the world a happier place. So it just takes a little bit of effort. So you're doing something not just for yourself, but for others.
Okay.
So that's another example. Mindfulness is a great one. So a little meditation. So just at the beginning of the day or the end of the day for a few minutes, just stop, close your eyes, relax your body, take a nice few deep breaths and really feel the sensations of your breathing. Feel the sensations of your body. If you open your eyes, look at the different colors around you. Just take a break from your thoughts and just connect with your senses. That will make you feel so much nicer. But when you do that, also bring this kindness to yourself. Put your hand on your heart or the part of the body where you feel a strong emotion, especially if it's negative, and just let yourself be kind and friendly towards yourself. Smile towards yourself. There's loads of evidence that smiling is so good for you. So every morning, if you can't smile, then use your 2 fingers and just push your smile muscles up and hold it there for 1 minute.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Exactly. Fake it till you make it. A little bit of exercise every day. If you don't do any exercise at all, just doing a little bit of walking around is really good. Try something new. Like if you always drive or ride your motorbike or whatever the same route every day, go on a different route. Try going to a different venue. Talk to some different people. All these things are really helpful. Like podcasts, it's great that the listeners are listening to this podcast. Try listening to some other ones. Try sending a message to the people who are making it. Maybe you can come onto the podcast. Try listening to different YouTube channels. Communicate with people, make new friends, join different groups. There's so many different things that you can do. But if you continue doing what you've always done, then obviously you're most likely to get the same result. If you try something different, even if it's a very, very small thing, it starts having a positive effect.
Positive effect. That is the whole idea of trying to bring in Shamash on the podcast. We hope you have a lot of takeaways and you start becoming happier from within and start spreading love and happiness to other people around you.
So with that, we come to the end of the 6th Tuesday. We'd like to thank Shamash for all his time that he's given to us, Animax for his technical inputs. We'll be back again next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Till then, be happy, spread some smiles, spread some happiness.
Very good, very good.
Yay!